This is Ed Feng, your host for the Football Analytics Show. I'm really excited to announce a new project that I'm working on. It is an audio preview for the 2024 football season. I thought I would start by reading the title and my working description. The 60-minute guide to the 2024 football season, the ultimate analytics and betting preview. With your passion for the 2024 NFL and college football season, you want to look smart to both the sports books and your meathead friends. Instead of hot takes from supposed experts like Stephen A. Smith, you want predictions based on cutting-edge analytics. In the 60-minute guide to the 2024 football season, Ed Feng uses a Stanford PhD and decades of experience in sports betting to bring you two stories. First, whether Josh Allen, the gunslinger, is interception-prone. Second, the secret to making accurate NFL spread predictions, especially early in the season. This audio preview is not a formulaic team-by-team preview or a podcast conversation with zero editing. Instead, it is inspired by John Oliver and takes a deep dive into two stories. It combines predictive analytics and humor to entertain you on your drive from Baltimore to Philadelphia. I've actually wanted to do an audio preview of the football season for a long time. There's obviously a lot of preseason content out there, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. I really wanted to dig deep into a couple of stories. So why did I decide to do it this year? There were actually some changes on Spotify. There are plans that you can get on Spotify that allow you to listen to audiobooks for no additional charge. I actually do this with my son as we drive to soccer for many hours every week. Now, if you have one of those Spotify plans, you can listen to my audio preview at no additional charge. I also hope to make the audio preview available on other platforms as well. At the end of the day, I've really enjoyed putting this together. Creating these stories lets me carefully think through the implications of the analytics I've created. Let me read you a sample of the second of two stories. The secret to making accurate NFL spread predictions. With less than 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, Minnesota quarterback Kirk Cousins dropped back to pass against Kansas City. Down a touchdown, the Vikings needed a successful play on 4th and 12 to keep the game alive. Minnesota had the ball on the Kansas City 24-yard line. The Chiefs rushed 6 defenders at Cousins, and he has a mere 2.5 seconds to get rid of the football. Does he throw to Justin Jefferson? No, the ultimate NFL cheat code strained a hamstring earlier in the game and didn't return. He would miss the next 7 games. Instead, Cousins flings the ball to his right in the direction of rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison. Cornerback L'Jarius Sneed had tight coverage, and the ball fell harmlessly to the turf in the end zone. However, a referee threw a yellow penalty flag. A pass interference penalty on Sneed would give Minnesota a first down on the 2-yard line. Sneed rips off his helmet in rage to argue with the referees, a violation that didn't draw an additional penalty. The referees gathered to discuss the play, and they ultimately decided not to call pass interference. The replay showed that Sneed had a hold of Addison's jersey with his left hand, but Addison never pulled away to make it seem like an obvious penalty. The bigger problem was where the football landed. Addison was running towards the back right corner of the end zone, and Cousins' pass hit the turf 5 yards to the interior of the field. The referees most likely ruled the pass uncatchable. The Vikings got the ball again with a minute left in the fourth quarter, but they ran out of time before they could score a touchdown. With a 27-20 loss, Minnesota dropped to 1-4 for the season. During the previous 2022 season, Minnesota went 12-0 in one-score games. NFL teams tend to regress to the mean of winning half of these games decided by 8 or fewer points, and quants spent the entire season screaming about how overrated the Vikings were. In 2023, each of Minnesota's first 5 games ended within one score. This season, they had a 1-4 record. Those same quants celebrated by playing board games for 48 hours straight. Kansas City went to 4-1 with the road win. More important to some bettors, the Chiefs covered the 3-point spread on the road. There are many ways to make the decision that Kansas City -3 at Minnesota was a good bet, but perhaps the most surprising comes from a method that ignored all data from the current season. Let me explain. Data is king. When making a prediction for the NFL season, the world demands looking at data, especially from someone like myself, Ed Feng, Stanford PhD. However, data might not be king early in the NFL season. Kansas City traveled to Minnesota in week 5 of the season, and 4 weeks of data from the current season is a small sample size. We shouldn't draw strong conclusions from this data. During the early part of any sports season, it makes sense to lean on preseason expectations. This can happen in a number of ways, such as a preseason model that uses data from prior seasons. However, I don't use these models at the Power Rank, my sports analytics and betting site. NFL teams tend to regress to the mean from season to season. The salary cap creates a level playing field for all 32 teams. It makes a team-based approach difficult. Instead, the Power Rank relies on the wisdom of crowds for NFL preseason. One of my methods uses market win totals and makes sense. The second method makes no sense at all. Let me tell you about the latter. The week before the start of the NFL season, I collect preseason power rankings from all the top media sites. These power rankings reflect the subjective opinion of sports writers. The idea uses the wisdom of crowds. No one subjective power ranking is perfect, as each sports writer has the quirks inherent to all humans. However, collecting 20 power rankings should cancel out these quirks and leave a strong signal of team strength. I can see you squirming in your seat. The analytics guy who stouts his Stanford PhD resorts to collecting subjective power rankings in the preseason instead of putting in the hard work of building a data-driven model. That probably doesn't make you want to sign up for a membership to the Power Rank for $99 a year. However, the results of this model speak for themselves. I've put together this wisdom of crowds since the 2014 season. Let's look at all games in which the prediction of the model differs from the closing market by a point or more during the first 6 weeks of the season. We'll talk about the remainder of the season later. In these games, the wisdom of crowds wins 55.6% against the market. This is a record of 380 wins, 304 losses, and 18 pushes. A prediction was made in 702 out of 922 games. Why did this model like Kansas City as a 3-point favorite at Minnesota? While we don't know for sure, we can make a guess. Kansas City struggled in the prior week against the New York Jets. The Chiefs were an 8-point favorite on the road, but Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions. Kansas City had a late 3-point lead, and then Jets quarterback Zach Wilson lost a fumble late in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs would hold on for a 23-20 road win. The markets might have underestimated Kansas City at Minnesota because of this result the previous week. However, the markets bounced back the next week as the Chiefs were a 10.5-point favorite at home over Denver. This was in agreement with both the preseason wisdom of crowds model and the full member prediction of the Power Rank. The Chiefs did not play well enough at Minnesota to merit an upgrade, although the market could be reacting to Denver and the struggles of quarterback Russell Wilson. It would be nice to identify a general trend among games that the wisdom of crowd picks in the first 6 weeks of the season. For example, let's suppose that Minnesota won by a 52-10 score in week 4 of the season. The markets overreact to this one game, and the wisdom of crowds model, which sticks to preseason expectations, identifies this overreaction. However, after poring over these games, there is no general trend that I could find. Here is my conclusion. The wisdom of crowds has a track record of accuracy in the first 6 weeks of the season, although the 55.6% win rate could still be the result of small sample size. Still, there's enough evidence to use the model as part of our handicapping, although we reserve the right to ignore it. I also like the Kansas City at Minnesota game because it shows how it's never easy to win an NFL spread bet. The referees could have never picked up the flag for pass interference. Minnesota scores a touchdown from the 2-yard line to tie the game. With a tie game, NFL teams tend to opt for a field goal since winning is the main objective. Because of this, a push at Kansas City -3 is the best outcome. At the end of the day, you need to trust the original analysis that supported the wisdom of crowds' prediction. Kansas City had the best quarterback and coach in the NFL. Minnesota had the ultimate cheat code in Justin Jefferson, but otherwise a bunch of spare parts. It was a good bet. Thank you for listening to that sample of the 60-minute guide to the 2024 football season. My name is Ed Feng, the author. My plan is to release this audio preview the week after the Olympics in August. I will obviously let you know on this podcast when that happens. I'm also really interested in any feedback that you might have. You can always email me at thepowerrank@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you again next week.